Well. Good afternoon, West Ham fans. Justin, the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new indeed, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a bloody good subscribe. David Moyes has just finished his press conference ahead of the Sheffield United Premier League fixture on Saturday at 3 p.m. at home. Wow. Unbelievable, Jeff. Particularly with all these sort of games. Obviously, don't get used to it because next week we're playing Thursday, Sunday again, so don't get enjoy it while it lasts. And he was asked several questions, very short press conferences. Usually these things are now. But as always, in terms of Hammer's headlines in association with KUMB.com, boys, bring you a synopsis of what's happened and what was said, what, how, and why. So let's start off. He was actually asked the first question about the fact was it was actually his 900th game in charge tomorrow. And well, not in charge of West Ham. Some fans might think it felt like that, but in total in his professional career. Asked about the secret to longevity, so I don't think there's a secret. I've been in a long time. You have to have an incredible love of the game, and you have to want to continue to improve. I don't know how many different managers have come into the Premier League over the seasons, but you have to keep evolving to keep up and enjoying I'm enjoying every minute of being the West Ham manager. Evolving is the question. Will he evolve his side for the Sheffield United? Will we play the low block? We'll play the 4-1-4-1. I think we probably will play the 4-1-4-1. But will he evolve to play our opponents from Sheffield United tomorrow? Actually asked about team news. He was, as predicted, we're pretty much fine. We've had a game in midweek and we're making sure everyone is recovered from that. And hopefully everyone is fit and well for Saturday. Aaron Cresswell has had a bit of a hamstring injury. He's not ready, but he's coming on well. So as you can imagine, Cress wouldn't be featuring anyway, really, with Emerson, our number one left back. Particularly also, don't forget, for the Lincoln game, about 7 of the Premier League side didn't even travel. So, that was to keep them fresh for Sheffield United. Obviously, the Lincoln game was interesting because obviously we won. We beat the mighty Lincoln third round to the fourth round of the Carabao Cup against the Arse on probably, I think it's Wednesday the 1st of November for a 7:30, 7:45 kickoff, something like that, to be confirmed. But asked about that game, obviously first clean sheets of the season against Lincoln and a need to keep clean sheets. He was actually asked specifically about clean sheets, and it's important that we keep them. It's a big part in the results over the season. We kept a good one in midweek, so let's build for that. And I think that's the key. At lunchtime, we had obviously a few guests on for the lunchtime live, and we had Dennis Waitling, and he said as part of the Tevez's agreement, we have to give Sheffield United a goal every time. I mean, it's always, the first part of the Moyes second spell, the second coming of Moyes, Ball 1.0, was very much built on a very strong defence and nicking a goal. Proper Moyes ball. And then, then it started then we started having to score more to get a result because we were conceding. And it's critical that we try our best, try your best, lads, to keep a clean sheet tomorrow, because it's going to be. And we had Hal from the Sheffield United way, and he was saying that the pressure's all on West Ham to win. It is, particularly, and we're going to turn to Sheffield United in a bit. It was literally one question was asked about Sheffield United in the whole of the press conference, all the stuff that was revealed in the broadcast section. Obviously there's two. You got the broadcast, the embargo section. So in the broadcast section, it was only sort of that was half a dozen questions were given. Obviously, we come off the back of two losses, one of them being obviously Liverpool last week. He was asked specifically about the Liverpool game, and he said, we had some really good moments at Anfield, not enough to win, but enough to give us a feeling we had given them a game. Overall, there were lots of good things coming from the game. We lost 3-1. We should have won. We had a penalty. We had two sloppy defensive errors. There's a bit. I mean, bit of good stuff, but it wasn't a particularly good game, was it? I didn't think, for us, which has somewhat diluted the beginning of our season. A very strong season. We'll talk about that in a minute, because Moyes is asked specifically about the team spirit and stuff. But the last two games have if we were doing like 70 miles an hour, because obviously that's the speed limit in the UK down the motorway, it's almost like we've now got traffic lights. We've got those, so we're about at 50 at the moment. So we're still going along, but it seems to have just slowed down a little bit. So I'm hoping Sheffield United will be the end of the 50-mile-an-hour zone and we can start zooming back up again, because even the Lincoln game was a bit near. So we're like plodding along. And not only that, but I think we need a good result tomorrow to set us up for Freiburg away, because it's going to be a really tough game. Freiburg themselves are a very unusual side. Speaking to people who are Freiburg fans, the manager doesn't really have a game plan as such. He has like in American football, you have like plays. He does that. It's a very different way of football. And that's why they're almost often referred to as like the Brighton of the Bundesliga Brighton, because they're sort of like De Zerbi has a different style of football to other, and sort of is like the media darling. And Freiburg are sort of like the media darling. They're only 1 point off not getting in the Champions League last year in the Bundesliga. So they're no mugs. And obviously we're going there with no fans in the stadium. So we need a good result tomorrow to give just the club a bit of a lift going into that game, because they're going to be the biggest rivals for that top spot, which is critical, I'd say, not only in terms of missing the playoffs, but then guaranteeing the last 16 tie is at home second leg. And obviously we saw that effect against Sevilla in the Europa League last but 1 year. In our first foray into Europe. Asked about the team spirit, he was very complimentary about it, saying we've had a great spirit. We started the season after winning a European competition. Did we win a European competition? Oh yeah, in our last game. So he came in positively. I bloody well would hope so, Mr. Moyes. We've had tough games to start the season, but we're in a good form. The players have started well. The new players have helped. So let's hope we can keep it going. And obviously there are certain players who we would like to probably see play, like Mr. Kudus, like Mavropanos. I mean, as much as I want to see both of them play, I don't think they will play tomorrow. I don't think so. I don't think more, unless ever so often he does this, like he forgets who he is for a minute, mate, David Moyes. So there was, I think it was Jesse Lingard's first game, like Wolves. I mean, I could pinpoint them. Wolves away. I think it was Burnley away. Certain games where he just goes, yeah, fuck it. Go and play. Do you know what I mean? So, and it'd be one of those. I'd love it. It's one of those games where you look at the team sheet and Souček's been dropped, but Souček's not playing, and Kudus starts. And I think the fan base would be like, "Yes, thank you," but I don't think it's going to happen. And it's not because I don't want it to happen. But the fact is we don't bit the team, and unfortunately, the person that bits the team, fortunately or unfortunately, I was listening to an interview the other day from a very much a Moyes supporter, and he was saying he's pragmatic, and that's what I like about him, and which is great. But in the same way, it's like a game like tomorrow is a really good game to just take the shackles off a bit. But will it happen? Probably not. Speaking about one of the players who will probably play, Mr. Jared Bowen, he was asked about Bowen's form this season. This is beginning to be a player whose consistency and stability in this team is very good. He started to score when he was at Hull. So we're hoping he will continue that, and he has done that. Hopefully, he continues to go to strength to strength. We are seeing a better Jared Bowen this year. I mean, last season he didn't have a great start to the season. I think, as I've said many a time, I think he played himself off the plane to Qatar because of his poor beginning of the season, and the side's very poor start to the season as well. We're seeing a different Bowen. I think he seems to be a bit more in line with the Bowen when he's in full flow. And I'm thinking, it'd be great to see him get a couple of goals tomorrow, just to keep that sort of momentum going, because it's great. It's great being playing well, but that end product. And he said he started scoring goals in Hull. He did score goals in Hull, but he scored goals for West Ham as well. Finally, talking to actually the opponents tomorrow, which is the whole point of the bloody press conference. One question about Sheffield United was put on the broadcast section. Asked about Sheffield United, he goes, and also what reaction he expects to get from them following their 8-0 loss to Newcastle last week. Because you always expect a team who loses to have a reaction, but ultimately, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of that either. Like every manager I've had heavy defeats in, like in my career, it's part of it. Paul Heckingbottom did a great job in getting them promoted last year. They're new to the Premier League, and sometimes that's not easy. When I was talking to Hal from Sheffield United Way, I asked him that same question. What did you what do you expect a reaction? He went, of course I do. You know, so Paul Heckingbottom will say to them, look, you're at the bottom of the league. Everyone thinks you can't play football. You've just lost 8-0. Go out and just show them you can. That's why he thinks the pressure is totally on West Ham to win tomorrow. And it is. It really is. I think if we get to a situation where we've got, if we get to a situation where, it's 0-0 after 70 minutes, that the crowd will be up, or 60 minutes, the crowd will be on us. The crowd will not us, be on the team. But you look back also, I think that Newcastle game was just a freak, was quite a freak result. If you look at their performances and their results, and also when the goals have happened, you get to a situation where you've got, I don't know, I think Spurs, they lost an injury time. Another game lost an injury time. And that was like 8 minutes injury time. So this new injury time, which is everything. So they're no mugs, Sheffield United. They're no mugs. And, both sets of fans will be well up for it, as you know, because no, they don't like each other. And they're going to come up and, from as David Moyes, I mean, I would assume, and again, this is what I would do, but obviously, so I'm a fat bloke talking to a microphone than you. I'm not at Rush Green. Is go at them from the off. Just run at them, every ball going forward, not this sort of ticky-tacky around the back, maybe ticky-tacky, but passing across the back, keeping possession. Just go for them from the off, 100 miles an hour, and hopefully they're act like, rabbit in headlights. We get a couple of quick goals and they're like, oh, it's like PTSD. It's like the clips, West Ham clips with the dog, and it'll be like that situation again. But will it happen? I don't think so. Anyway, don't forget to check out thesearemybrand.com. We'll be back later on, late show with Irish Tommy. We'll also have the morning show tomorrow morning outside London Stadium with me. We'll have the watch-alongs. We'll have all that type of stuff, as well as obviously the ratings on Monday and things like that. So take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I'll see you very, very soon. Ta-ta, bye-bye.